Hello people of the internet, it's Amanda, and if you're new on my channel, I usually talk about Japanese movies, dramas, entertainment. Sometimes I tap into other Asian pop culture topics as well. And if you've seen a lot of my other content in the past before, then you would know that I'm a huge fan of Number I. Before today's video, you've probably seen the title below, so you would know that I would share some of my personal experience watching them for the first time at toHEROes, TOBE's second Super Live concert. But other than that, I think I also want to step back and talk about something a little bit more personal as to why this concert means so much to me. And I know that that can come off as too much for other people, or why am I getting too emotional about this or anything like that. But aside from being a fan, there are a lot of things that also relate to why this experience was such a special moment for me. And I just wanted to share that in today's video, especially considering how I've been talking about them, their performances, or how much I'm a fan of them, etc. in this channel as well. So I just want to share this aspect here in this platform while the memory is still fresh and all of these other things. And then we'll probably go back to regular programming. But I just want to just put it out there first. So yeah, with that said, so let's just get to it. As I mentioned, this is my first time seeing Number I live in person. It's not their solo concert. It's with the other artists belonging to TOBE, which is their new agency. I was really happy about that in a sense because I've also been particularly fond of IMP, and seeing them all just in one space for one trip is just super cool and super exciting. But overall, this is like my first ever concert, like live concert ever, my entire life. And there's a reason for that, which I'll be sharing more about later. But I think I've talked about this in previous videos as well, especially the streamed concert, where I talk about streamed concerts, where I usually refer to them as like my first concert, my first, whatever. I refer to them as my first concert in a sense that they're still streamed, but they're actually like first concerts that I quote unquote virtually attended to. So you can look back at some of my old videos, and I think I've mentioned it there. But this is like the first actual performance where I went there, got the tickets, watched live, all these other things. So yeah, and I've never really done that for any other artists before. The only live act that I've seen which I've been a fan of before was for Dan and Phil's Interactive Introverts tour, but that wasn't a concert. That was more like a stage show. And I think I vlogged that, but there's also something about that I will share on why this is a completely different experience as compared to that. So yeah. So now getting to that, ever since I was a kid, I wasn't the type to like so many different things at once. Like I usually have varying levels of liking something, but I would always have a certain hyperfixation. And as a kid, especially like growing up as well into like late teens and whatever, as a kid you don't really have the money to buy like a lot of things or stuff like that, or or you're either too young to go to like these kind of like different places or functions or whatever related to stuff that you like. I was just really I think I just had the privilege of my parents being very supportive of, if they know that I like something, they would like try to provide things that are related to that. But when I started earning my own money, there are certain artists that I feel like I've liked them when I was younger, but I didn't like them as much anymore when I was earning my own money. So when they were starting doing tours, especially here in Manila, like I just felt like I was really happy that I liked them. I still listen to their music, but I've never really found an artist that I genuinely felt so passionate about for me to spend tickets to see them. Um, and yeah, and I think that was just that, you know, it's either kind of like I was already in that place where I can afford or try to afford it, but I just find that I don't feel as strongly about them anymore, so I just wouldn't go for it. And that's the reason why I haven't been to any other concerts before. And it's not like I don't have love for these artists anymore, because again, as I mentioned, I still listen to them. I don't refresh my playlists a lot, so my playlist probably back when I was younger, it's still kind of like the same stuff with just added new stuff, but very minimally. So I'm kind of like that type of person. But again, the strongness of passion for these people and wanting to see them live wasn't there anymore. And then also, like, even when I entered like my Kimpori era or my King and Prince era, so if you've seen my past content as well, then you would know that I absolutely love them as a group. I think they're, and again, even if I kind of like listen to other artists back then, like they were kind of like my main group that I absolutely love, support, buy magazines of, and whatever. But I was still not at that capacity of being able to like try for a concert and um and have the means to just want to go there if I want to, you know. And sure, I've been traveling to Japan since I became a fan of them. And even before that, so I started traveling to Japan in 2016. I became a fan of them in 2018. But I was just not in that place where my sole purpose would be to go there for a concert. You know, like I would usually, like the schedule is usually within the schedule of my family and when we're going to take a vacation there. And I was just not in the place, even financially, to make it, to just make a trip just because, you know, it's that kind of thing. Um, and then with number I, it's kind of like really specific in a sense that when the Kimpari split happened, or when they announced it, November of 2022, I was also in a very kind of like vulnerable place in terms of just a lot of things with my work at the time. So that was affecting me emotionally and mentally. And when they announced it, within the same 3 days, I would say, it put me in a really kind of like vulnerable spot, because you know how it is when you love a certain artist and you make it your own in a sense. So, kind of like the thing where whenever I'm feeling stressed or whatever, and Kimpari was my comfort space at the time, that was also happening. It just put me in a really kind of like vulnerable spot, I would say, because I would want to listen to them to cheer myself up, but then realizing what was happening with this group that I absolutely really love would also make me even sadder. And so it was such a crazy time for me. And I was also dealing with like other stuff behind the scenes from that. Um, and it was just like those past, that entire year, stretching up to when Sho and Jin and eventually Kishi left, it was kind of like the stretch of just a challenging time for me. But them also starting new, starting this new beginning, was also kind of like the motivation, inspiration for me to also leave something that I was comfortable in and that I was convincing myself that I was happy in, and to take a leap and just take a risk and try new things. And they were mostly like, obviously it was still mostly my choice and all these other things, but they really kind of like inspired me to do that. um and I know like it's two different circumstances, but that's just how it was for me. Because I was choosing between a place that I was really comfortable in, that I know that I love doing, but it just wasn't working out for me the way that I want to anymore, versus trying something new and completely unfamiliar that I think I know I can be good at, but I am a massive control freak. I like things to be within my control. Um, and I love having plans A, B, and C laid out. Um, but I made the choice, as inspired by them, to take a risk as well and have this embrace a new beginning if I can. Just as with how Number I did with theirs. And it eventually worked out for me. And it just felt like everything finally fell into place. And so it's kind of like this parallel between what's happening with them now as Number I, and then with me right now in this space that I'm in on a personal, professional, and just overall kind of like level. Um, and then I was able to hit for the concert. And I was finally in that space where I feel like I can, I can make this work. But I was also not sure. So that's the reason why I booked a trip to Tokyo as compared to Osaka, because I figured if I wasn't gonna hit for the concert, then might as well, spend some time in Tokyo and just chill there. It's also my birthday week, and it's quite a huge deal because I'm turning over a new chapter, a new decade, for this birthday. But I was already at that space where I'm able to make that decision. Um, and then it happened, and I was like, okay, so everything is working out so far. And that's the reason why this concert was really, really important to me, is because everything kind of like fell into place. And that I was able to, watch them while I was in that space where everything was working out. Um, and I was able to make it happen without having to worry too much about certain stuff. Um, and it just felt like everything was fine. And I think that's the reason why it was so special to me, is because it's my first ever concert. It was within my birthday week, which I'm celebrating, a huge milestone birthday for me as well. And it was also kind of like I was in that space where I was able to make it happen because I was no longer either too young, too broke, or just too busy or whatever. And I'm not saying like I'm in a completely 100% perfect space right now, because that's not the case at all. But all I'm saying is I'm definitely at that better space than where I was before, where I was able to make it happen. And that's why it's just so special to me. And and it wasn't because I had to rely on anybody to make it happen or whatever. I made it happen for myself, and that was really fulfilling. And that's the reason why. And and they were kind of like part of the reason that inspired me to be able to make that choice. Because if they can make that new beginning, and take what they got from that previous experience and be able to draw that in and make something out of it, and come out of it doing things that they want to do and taking control of their music, their career, all of these other things, I kind of like channeled that energy and made that into my own. And while I know that that was all through my own efforts as well, I feel very grateful for them for being able to like inspire someone like me who loves to be in control of so many different things. And they kind of like, I was kind of like inspired by, just learning to let go a little bit and being able to take that step forward from the choice that they made, moving on from one step to being Number I. And I think that's the reason why I love this stage that they're in. Obviously, I'm still very kind of like sad in a sense, or it's a bittersweet experience not being able to see them back when they were still in Kimpori, because again, Kimpori is still a very, very special group to me. But this is something, you know, it's kind of like Number I is also kind of like part of this new chapter of my own life. And yeah. Now, with that said, so I put markers in the or timestamps in this video just so you can skip all of those kind of like waffly parts. But moving on to the actual experience about the concert, I would say that the opening was insane. I was not seated in the arena area. I was by the stands, but I was still right in the middle, so the angle was pretty good and everything. Opening, I posted like the videos that I took for the opening, because we're allowed to like take videos for the opening sequences of the concert. I think it's such a good thing that TOBE allows videos for some parts of the concert, but for the rest of it, like, it's still purely kind of like an immersive experience. You're not allowed to record anything, and so not everyone is on their phone all the time, and I absolutely love that. I love that they streamed it as well, and there's an archive, simply because it's just so easy to kind of like I don't know, it's just so nice to not have to deal with post-concert amnesia, and be able to like review it, even if I was in the April 7th show, not the April 6th, but at least like the performances, I was able to relive it as soon as, you know, as soon as now, instead of waiting for like the Blu-ray or the DVD or whatever. But overall, like the opening, as soon as Number I, because they were the opening act, came out, I was just so emotional. I was getting emotional even prior to them appearing, because I already know they're going to be the opening act. But seeing them there, hearing them live, listening to them, and seeing them perform right there in front of my eyes, it's so unbelievable in the sense, like, it feels like there's some kind of like filter going on where, is this real? I think that was a feeling that I was feeling at the time. The energy level, the crowd is just crazy for them. And it's just very, very, like, the energy that they brought, they're very growly. There's so much, not really aggressive energy, but just so much power in the way that they were delivering stuff. And I think even in comparison to like the April 6th show where it was streamed, there's just so much energy, and I think it's because it's the last show for the entire kind of like toHEROes series for this year. They also, like, it was just a blast. For Kitayama, he was the one, he has the most kind of like mobile performances out of everybody, because he even in the intro where he was able to kind of like go within the near proximity of where I'm seated. Then for Ken's performance is really kind of like kind of like this palate cleanser in between like very hardcore performances, because for most TOBE artists, they tend to lean more on hard rap or hard kind of like music, even with the others, with the exception of Class 7 and the trainees wing first. But for Ken specifically, this music has this kind of like chill pop-ish kind of vibe to it. Issei was, I've never really paid attention to Issei before when he was still in their previous agency. I couldn't even remember which group he was in. I just know that he was in like one of the popular like junior groups back then. But I really enjoyed this performance, and I think it's because his music is aligned with the type of music that I actually really like. I'm really more into like hip-hop, R&B. I do love my pop music and some of my chill kind of like music, but overall, I just kind of like loud music in a sense, and that's the reason why I enjoy Number I's music. But like with Issei, that is one good looking kid. I have to say, he really does look good in person. Really, really nice face. Um, and obviously, like with IMP, really, really love those kids. I've grown again, as I mentioned, it's not like I am as hyper fixated with them as I am with number I, but I'm quite affectionate of them because when I was waiting for number I to release their own music, IMP became that sort of like go-to group that I kind of like paid attention to a little bit. I still don't know most of their songs, but I like their energy level. It's really, really different from the first two heroes, where I feel like they were still kind of like slowing it down a little bit, you know, out of respect for their senpais or anything. It's not like they're still kind of like putting on the performance level in that one, but it's not so much that they were owning much of the show. But for this one, that they were able to like own the parts or their sets that they were in, and I really, really like that. They're definitely a lot more energetic. There's a lot more power in their performance, which is really, really which is really great. It's just so Arata is just so pretty in real life. That kid is just so, he just switches it up whenever he's on performance level as compared to like when they're doing their other videos where he's very shy and meek and everything. But on the stage, that kid in his stage presence is just really, really good. Kage, there was this, I'm not sure if there's just one section where whenever Kage kind of like shows off his shoulders or anything like that, because they were wearing jackets and everything, there's this one portion where I hear like just an erratic screech coming from one of the fans, and I was like, but it was really funny. But that's another, like, Kage's voice is really, really good. And I've noticed this ever since, but he definitely has that kind of voice that has a quality that feels like it's really coming from the record, but they're performing live. And the reason why I know they're performing live is because Yoko and Minato kind of like are going off tune sometimes, but it's not something so bad. It's just kind of like um it's kind of like typical in live performances where sometimes you don't hear yourself as much or whatever. But like, yeah, so I don't really have a lot of stuff to say about that. I just found it funny, and proof that they are performing live, and it's not easy to perform live with such a hard choreo and also singing. So whatever. The person that really kind of like caught my eye for this performance that I don't pay like I never really noticed him before, but I like really caught my eye in this live performance is Gachan, so Taiga. I don't know why, but I was just so like, I was watching, obviously like my attention is mostly on Arata because I really, really like that kid. Super, super like really good center level performance. He deserves that spot. But Gachan really, really caught my eye in this live performance. So there's that. So I probably will be paying more attention to him moving forward whenever I watch IMP performances. But yeah, and apparently some IMP fan told me in the comments in one of my Twitter/X posts that apparently he has a reputation of being a Oshi wrecker. So good for you, Gachan. But yeah, but moving on to, you know, number I do feel like the section that they produced for for all of the artists, it's something very similar to, and I keep on saying this, the section that Show produced for Kimpori's Dome before, for the Namae Oshiete Magic Touch remix. They kind of like incorporated that same element in this one where they remixed some of the artists' music, and then they did that for Superstar, where they kind of like created this entire ensemble style remix for everybody in there. And I do think that it's really, really good that they were able to kind of like do that for, you know, other artists apart from themselves. And I'm really curious to see that in the documentary, like how that's going to look like, how they conceptualize it and everything. Because again, I don't have a knack, like I love music, but I don't have a knack for like remixing something or whatever. And I just know that it's really hard to like get those elements right, because you kind of like have to retain something within the base score of the song, but still kind of like add new flavor to it and how that transitions from one song to the other. And for them specifically, they chose Blow Your cover for it, which already has like a sped up version in the single that they released before. But still, this is still a different version of it, because it's not that. This has like a lot of like other change ups when it comes to the BGM, the beats, everything. And that's what they did for the other artists as well. One specific moment that I couldn't forget about this is while everybody was like doing their own thing, because they were standing in this kind of like stage with all of the artists there. I was mostly like focusing on Shaw, and whenever like the camera wasn't on him or he wasn't the one singing, he was always looking at the audience, not just within the arena, but within the stands and even the higher up floors. And he was just kind of like, it's always something that I've noticed him do in other performances, but it's just so nice to see it live, where he was just kind of like drinking in the audience that was watching them. And he keeps on like mouthing thank you, arigato, to like sections. He's done it throughout like the other performances as well. And he has just, and I don't know, like he's just trying to make eye contact with like different sections of the audience. Like even when the spotlight wasn't on him, and I think that was just really, really nice to see and observe in person when I was watching them live. And for their own set, I would say it's just like I enjoyed the performances of the other artists, but watching them live, especially during their parts, was just so sad or bittersweet in a sense, because I wanted more. Like it was that good. It was kind of like just back to back to back with these kind of like their songs, and with starting off with Numbers. And it was quite dumb because I started crying during Numbers, which is the start of like the number I set. And Numbers isn't the type of song that you should cry to, but I did because it was their set and I was listening to it live, and it was just crazy. And then by the time that they performed Goat was really fun. It was nice to be a part of the crowd that was really hyping it out, especially in the go 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 part. And being able to finally experience that kind of like high during Goat was so good. But I think one of the highlights for me would definitely be when they performed God Eye, because Number I's songs, especially their kind of like lead tracks, don't really emphasize a lot of their natural vocals. But for God Eye, there's a lot of singing parts, and therefore it was just super nice to hear that. Jinguji's voice has definitely grown richer over the past years that I've been listening to their music. Has definitely grown a lot. There's a lot more power in his voice now. Such good like richness to his voice listening to it. And then there's a part in the bridge for God Eye where after Kishi and then there's Sho, and they're, even before in Kimpori, they're my favorite vocalists. And hearing them like be in the same space of them singing a melody and hearing how good it is, so good. Shaw specifically has been ad-libbing some of the parts, adding some curls to the end of the lines. And even whether or not it had a synth effect or not, it just sounds so good. And it's just so crazy. But again, if you've seen the footage that I posted, I'm way far off from them. So I was like, I'm quite content, watching them move around like little people over there and kind of like seeing most of it on the screen. But then the encore happened and the carts passed by near the area where I'm in. And first, there's Kitayama, there's Issei, there's Ken in the first cart. And so obviously there's that, and they were kind of like waving and whatever. And then there's IMP. And then again, Minato and Arata were so pretty up close, especially Arata. I just really love that kid's face, especially his dark hair now. So I don't know, but there's just something about him, super cute, but at the same time he can look really fierce as well. Really, really pretty kid. And then again, as I mentioned, Gachan really caught my eye for this. He was wearing kind of like I think that was the hat that he was wearing earlier on. He was wearing it around his neck, so there's kind of like fluff here. And I don't know, but he just really looked handsome. And then Kage, I was watching Kage a lot because one of my best friend's favorite member is Kage, and so I wanted to like talk to like really watch him and then talk to her about it later on. But then Kage is really, really fair in person. He was facing kind of like the other way when the cart passed by our area, but still he was kind of like giving fan service to like the people in the arena, and then we were at the stands. It was just like, those are really good kids, or nice kids. And again, Minato and Arata's face card, top tier, really, really nice. And then the number I cart passed by, and it was just so insane because I was already kind of like, okay, so this is a nice experience. I wished I could have been seated a lot better, but it's fine. I was able to experience it. And then the cart was just right there. And it was so bizarre, like finally seeing them that close, like not too close, but still really close. Like Kishi was really, really fair. He was really cute. He was pointing at the audiences, just waving and all these other things, looking very nice and chill and fresh. And then with Jin, he has this like really pretty quality to him lately. Like obviously, whenever he is all kind of like being, I don't know, being like princely with the eyeglasses and everything, like he has this very handsome look to him. But whenever he is kind of like relaxed, and he also cut his hair a little bit, and the brown hair, I don't know, that he just looks really nice and pretty. He has this kind of like slender but not too thin look to him as well, and just really, really kind of like graciously waving and then smiling around people, all these other things, and it was just so nice. But then there's so and it was insane. Like my reaction to seeing him, I've looked at that face for the past 7 years in photos and in videos and whatever, but seeing him in person was just crazy because he's just the most, he was just like, he just, that face, that you just know why that's a star. He has a face that just stands out from the crowd, and the way that he interacts with the crowd as well. Like he was doing fan service, and he was kind of like pouting a little bit and all those other things, giving air hugs and stuff. He was really in his element, giving fan service to people, and it was just. And he was just so, like, it's just a combination of, wow, he was so handsome, he's really cute as well. And it was just crazy being able to see him from, like, photos on my phone and videos to, like, him actually being there and just being as handsome as more than I imagined. So it was crazy. And I think it was more so the fact that he was also very engaged with fans and all these other things that made me like, and it was just so nice to see that. And then when they went up to the stage, and it was so cool because people always keep talking about how Sho's face is so small compared to his body, and being able to see that in real life, it's not that he's disproportioned or anything like that. It's just that he has a really kind of like really small face, but then like his shoulders are really broad, and he's just really just a well-built guy. But yeah, he's just a very good-looking guy overall. And then when they went into the stage for their final greetings, Sho had his sleeves up, so both his sleeves up, and it's so funny because he has, again, such a small face, and his arm is bigger than his face, and I can see it from not just the monitors where they keep on like showing them like number I, but also like even from where I'm standing, you can see him there. You know that that's him, and he is just, again, like his arm is probably like this wide, and then his face is just like half that. I don't know, but it's just super funny to see. And um and even in the end, if I'm being honest, I was counting on him saying Shinanayo or don't die at the end of it, but he didn't, like the first one, because it probably would have been really stale for him to say it in the first one and then this one. But I didn't mind. It was just like a fun experience overall. It was really cute the way that it ended when the gap was closing in and then Sho was kind of like peeping through it up until it closed. It was just so fun. MC was really funny as well with the three of them. They were really good in terms of interacting with Wink first. Really funny. Kishi was particularly funny, and the way that they kind of like danced to Inazuma, because one of the kids kind of like requested if they can dance to it together. I don't know, it was just so fun to be in the same space as them. Their humor is quite good, very, very interesting, and they're kind of like everything that I imagined and more. And I wish that, you know, like I enjoyed that it's a group concert, but it just made me want to see them in their own show as well, which they'll be having later this year, as they announced in that in the toHEROes concert as well. But yeah, so I'm gonna be trying out for that. Hope you wish me luck. But it was just an experience. It was so addicting to see them on stage, and it just really means so much. That it's so funny that I was crying during Numbers and then Goat and then God Eye, which are songs that you shouldn't be crying in, but I did, because it was just such an experience to see them finally be there and performing and listening to them live, and just, you know, and yeah, and I was just really happy that they're in this space where they're making this happen and producing their own thing, and they seem to be very much in their element, and it kind of like just resonates with me right now in the state that I'm in, and I'm just really happy to be able to like all have these all different emotions be present in this one particular event that I hold in my heart forever. But yeah, so yeah, I know that this is kind of like just self-serving, this entire video, but if you've lasted through it, then thank you so much. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and you would want to hear more from me, please subscribe. If you want more of like the videos focused on the event itself, I've already posted some of them, so this is kind of like just me doing a debrief. But yeah, thank you so much, and I'll be seeing you again soon in a new video. Bye.